Well, good morning and welcome to the third of our face-to-faces. This is me, Rory Coleman, with Vicky Midwood. Hopefully you know who we are by now, and if you don't, well, it's not a perfect world. And funnily enough, that's what we're chatting about today. Look, we all try and strive for perfection. Even on this broadcast, it's not perfection. I'm looking at Vicky's clock in the background there. And she's in some kind of different time zone to me. I know Wales is a little bit further west, but what's happened to your clock, Vicky?
Well, my clock has decided that the handles don't quite cross over. They keep getting caught. So every time I reset it, it'll go for maybe 2 or 3 hours and then it gets stuck again.
Good. Well, there you go. It's probably right twice a day. And It is Monday morning and we are out of lockdown. The kids are at school in Wales. I've got 3 small children and they'll be screaming in the background at some stage. So we can't even get a perfect broadcast today. But I don't know. I think we waste so much of our lives trying to be perfect. I don't know. Are you perfect, Vicky?
No, but I have to say that was probably one of the biggest hurdles that I needed to work on and overcome to help me to get out of my addictive behavior, my addictive thinking, and it kept me stuck for such a long time. And the crazy thing is now that I don't even really know what perfection is, and I'm not perfect. Definitely not. For me, I was once told that 7 out of 10 is good enough. And that to me was like an abomination. I was just like, how can possibly 7 out of 10 be good enough? But I think what I was confusing perfection with was my own values and standards that I'd learnt. And that's, I think, what perhaps a lot of people do, because my perfect isn't your perfect. Your perfect isn't the same as the next person. So what even is it? I don't know. So no, I've let that go, but it took some work, I can tell you. What about you?
Well, it's hard to quantify, isn't it, what perfect is? Is it consistency? And you can be consistently poor at something. The only thing I've been perfect at is being dry for 26 years. That's a really simple perfect. That's a very black and white thing. You're either drinking or you're not, and you don't want to break that record. Maybe it's that 80% thing, and it's about getting as good as you can get. I was thinking about this earlier on. I live in Cardiff, as you know, and we were needing to move in town. So it's really good nowadays. You just go into Rightmove, tap in what you need, tap in how much money you think you've got, and hey presto, some houses pop up. And you go, oh, look at that, that's amazing. And oh, if we only had another, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand, we could get this one and this one would be better.
Yeah.
The only thing is, there isn't any house that comes without a problem.
No.
We've got a nice house, but Jenny reminds me every day, you can't park. Okay.
You live in London.
Well, yes. Well, it's like you can't park. So it's that problem every day.
Yeah.
You jiggle the cars around, and actually, you just get used to it eventually, because everything else about the place is all right. And maybe it's that it's all right is good enough.
That's the key phrase, isn't it? Good enough. Because what is good enough? And I think we need to change the language around it, because I'm like you. I'm perfect at being sober from alcohol, 15 years. But I'm going to change that word because it feels better to me. I'm excellent. I'm excellent at being sober, right?
Yep.
I've mastered it. Now that sits with me a lot better than the word perfect. And that example of buying a house, absolutely. I mean, how many of us have done it, or a holiday or a car? Yeah, we've gone, well, I really like this, but I wish it had that. Or I love that about it, but I wish it was this. There's always something that's not quite exactly how we want it. And that's why it is impossible to quantify. But then what if everything was perfect? That would be horrible, wouldn't it?
Maybe it'll be like Logan's Run, and everyone has to die when they get to 35. Yeah, it would be awful, because then everything would be ordinary, and then we can't be extraordinary.
Would we? Where would we get our fun and our enjoyment from? If everything was our perfect, what would you do with it? Where do you go? How do you have fun? It's just like, okay, so now I am doing what I want. I have everything I want. But are you actually inside? Are you happy? Are you full of joy? Or is it just like, okay, now what?
Yeah, I like that. I like that being about being full of joy. So when you I don't know, you look at Michael Jackson looking for this perfect body, you know, and they just keep another operation and another and another and another. There has to be a bit where you sort of have a bit of a time out and think, do you know what? That's as far as you know, that's good enough.
Yeah.
And then you sort of think, okay, now I'm look at a different aspect of life that I can change. What do you find with your clients? What sort of perfect do you think they're looking for?
Well, I have to say that one of the classic character traits of my disordered eating clients is perfection. They're looking for the ideal weight or the ideal body size, or whether it's in how they are behaving within their relationship. They want to be the perfect partner. Perfection is absolutely massive. And I have a fun little exercise that I do with them that helps them to see that just really how totally unattainable and bonkers striving for perfection is. And it's so simple, but when they do it, you can kind of see that the penny drops. So yeah, it's a big thing with my clients. Would you like me to do the exercise?
Yeah, tell us. Yeah, please.
Okay, well, it's really, really easy. So we spoke about houses, holidays, cars. You can pick one of those, right? But let's say I think it's more fun to do at a holiday or your perfect day, right? I'm sure you've done this exercise where you describe in great detail your perfect day. So what's your house like? Who do you live with? What time do you get up? What do you have for breakfast? And you go through the whole day and you describe it, and it's done. You're happy with it. It's your perfect day. Yeah. And then I'm going to ask you, so how would you make it more perfect?
Oh, yeah.
And then you go, well, I would. So it wasn't perfect then, was it?
Yeah.
Because there's always something that you can add when somebody asks you that question. So we never ever get there. And that's a really simple exercise because, and one of the things I think for me, particularly when it comes to body image and watching celebrities and stuff, and Michael Jackson, prime example, it's whenever you get what you think you want, there's always something else because you're looking for the flaws. And that's what I did as a perfectionist. I couldn't accept the good enough, and I couldn't even come up any kind of pat on the back or like championing myself to say you've done a good job. I would always see the bit I'd missed, the flaw.
Yeah.
And that's what perfectionism and perfectionists do and don't realize it.
I always ask people on their marathon PBs, say, could you have run 1 second faster today? Could you have done 1 second quicker? And if they say no, I just know that's it. That's the limit. And I've been on those limits. I did an exercise treadmill test the other day, and if you've ever done a stress test on a treadmill, they just run you to destruction. I've done it thousands of times on other people. I had to do it myself the other day, and there's always that feeling. Do you know what? I could have gone a bit further, but you hit the panic button and stop it because you don't want to fall off. It's that thing about knowing where to stop, maybe. And I think this perfection thing it's more of a spectrum of things, and perfection runs, like you say, right the way across life.
Yeah.
And you have to think about maybe trying to get about 80%. Like your grade, a grade A at GCSE, what's that, about 70%, isn't it? I think an A star is probably 80%.
Yeah.
I would say, well, an A star is 99%, isn't it? that would be my mind's way of thinking about it, or it would be 100%. You got every question right.
Yep.
It's not like a multiple guess where 70% gets you through the grade. But maybe we have to think about this across the whole spectrum of things. And I find out with weight loss, extreme weight loss clients, all it is just that focus about, I've got to lose this weight. I've got to lose, I don't know, 50 kilos, which is a tremendous amount of weight. And we get through the whole journey. We get through the whole journey of this 50 kilos. And at the end of it, we say, right, you're not fat anymore. What else has changed?
Exactly.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's to do with our expectations of what will happen and our perception of what's going to happen when we reach that ideal weight. Yeah. When I get to X weight, my life will be great. Everything will be perfect. Well, actually, no, it won't. And if you ask anybody who's been on a disordered eating journey like I have, who's been fat and extremely thin, when I hit that special number that was in my head, I didn't feel great. I felt absolutely frigging awful because I still couldn't see that I'd achieved what I wanted to see. In the mirror, I saw something different, but also nothing had changed. In fact, it was even worse because to get to where I'd gotten to was so difficult. I'd gotten myself into such a pickle with food and my eating, and I didn't know how to get out of it. So I'd created a trap. So I actually felt worse than I ever did when I was okay, just okay with how I looked. And sometimes we need to go through that to be able to let go of it.
Were you body dysmorphic as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't see it. I mean, you'd think sort of nearly, well, I think I went as low as 5.5 stone. And yeah, so I'm not exactly tall, but I'm not a small person. I'm like average, 5'5" female. So, for me, the magic number was 7 stone, right? And I hit that 7 stone and it wasn't enough. I wanted more. The figure that I thought would suit my body in my head when I looked in the mirror wasn't good enough, wasn't perfect. I could still grab skin on my belly. I could still find flaws. So now the number went down. Yeah. And that, unfortunately, is what happens with a lot of disordered eating clients. But also when we put caveats on it. So my caveat was, if I have this weight, this figure, if I'm this size of clothing, all will be well with the world. Absolutely not. It was cloud cuckoo land, but I couldn't see it then. Absolutely couldn't see it until I was out of it. And that's the problem with perfectionism. You get so lost in that behavior and the thinking and the mindset of it that it's really hard to see it for yourself until you work with somebody like a coach who can help you to point out what the heck you're doing and why it's never going to work and it's never going to get you what you think it's going to get you.
Yeah. So when you're looking from the outside in, it's that view in, and I see it all the time. I like to ask questions why people want things, why they do things, and it is that wanting the car and the house and all this perfect life that really doesn't exist. Just thinking back to when I was a child and living in this, I don't know, Blue Peter sort of propaganda world. Who on earth thought we'd end up with this crazy situation we're in now, where nothing's perfect. Really, it really isn't perfect, and we're having to, I don't know, come up with the new perfect or the new way forwards.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to somebody who's sort of thinking at the moment, gosh, life isn't perfect. What can I do to make it better? Maybe that's a better way of looking at it.
I think you just hit the nail on the head there. It's that word in itself. It's how do we perceive the word perfect? How do we interpret it? Because that's really individual. So let's just change the word. Let's just make things better. And let's strive to be excellent at being ourselves, whatever that looks like.
I like it.
That would be my advice. Let's all be excellent. I've gone all Bill and Ted now. Excellent.
No, look, I think it's really good. What would you do right now to make things better for you?
Oh, for me, definitely. I know that I need to be more structured with my time. I have a tendency to flit off like a little fly and go, oh, what's over here? Oh, what's over there? Oh, let's do this. So I need to be more structured with my time, and that will make me feel better in myself because I'll feel more in control, and I'll be able to look at what I've done at the end of the day and go, yeah, I've done that, and I've done that, and I've done that. So that's what I need to do to make my day better. And that's one other thing I'd say. Stay in the day, because if you start going for next year and stuff, and it can be so overwhelming. It's like, what can I do today?
So when we talk about goal setting,
Yeah.
what would you say about goal setting? I think about goals, and everybody's got like the moon and the stars and the goal.
Right. Honestly,
about those?
I'm a little bit like this with goal setting. I think you have to do it with discretion. It depends on what it is and what area of life you're looking at. And then we have to be realistic. Massive goals, set them, all that kind of stuff. If you're not in the right headspace, is just way too much and can pull you down and make you feel that you're never going to get there, which completely defeats the object. So I think goal setting has its place, but you need to know where you're at and how to set realistic goals. And a lot of people are not taught how to actually set goals for themselves in different areas of life. So I think use it as a tool and use it with discretion.
I like to see how far you'll go. So again, with extreme weight loss, you're 150 kilos, and they sort of say, well, yeah, I want to be 80 kilos. It's like, whoa, that's such a big journey. I say, well, I tell you what, let's get below three figures. Let's go below three figures, see how you feel, and then we'll go from there. And if you think it's going to take 3 months, it could take 12 months, because it's that bumpy ride.
Yeah. And what you just explained there is you actually teaching a person how to set a goal. Because what we tend to do is nobody actually teaches us. We just imagine what you want and go for it. Yeah, but nobody actually spends time, unless you're working with a coach who's worked with a lot of people, how to actually set goals for you.
Yeah, and also we can look for perfection. Is a lot closer to home. Having a better bank balance, being more in control of your money. Certainly helps for that better life, the better life that we're looking for. And you can chase the dream, you really can chase the dream, but I don't think you ever get there. And there's the good example of the horizon. The horizon's 10 miles away. You walk 5 miles, where's the horizon? Well, it's still 10 miles away. But we don't think about the 5 miles that we've done and celebrate that journey.
Exactly.
I know in my earlier days of running, I did some massive ultra marathons, 145 miles down the canal. Wow. And the next weekend I'll be out running another marathon, and I'll be thinking, oh, well, hold on. And actually what I should have been doing is celebrating the fact that I completed this amazing race and finished on the podium, and had just had this amazing life experience, a far from perfect race. Because I overcame hurdles within that race. But actually, when I look back with my rose tinted specs, it was just a fabulous day. Not perfect, but actually one of the days that sort of defined me, for who I am and what I do. And I think that's something that we have to project to people, and that's a responsibility as well. Because you're talking to people that want to be 6 stone or whatever. They've got this dream of being super thin, and it's like, actually I've got a responsibility to say, hold on, stop.
Yep,
it's far enough. And I'm in those situations too.
I think for anything where it comes to striving for a goal and an achievement where we can see that there's a finish line, we've got to be really careful where we get those goals from. And I think that's the key, why having somebody like you to pull the person back and just like go, whoa, hang on a minute. Because often it's because we're competing with others, what we've seen somebody else do,
Mm.
and we don't recognize our own skill set is not necessarily the same as theirs.
Yeah.
But also we compete with ourselves, you know, and I can remember, I don't know if you can remember, I did run. I don't run anymore because I was stupid, basically. Even though I understand how the body worked, I pushed myself too far, too fast, and ended up with injuries that instead of taking time out to heal, I decided to carry on running through because it'll be all right if I just push through, won't it, right? Lunatic. When I can look back at it now, that means I can't run now much longer than sort of 15, 20 minutes, and I can feel everything hurts. But when I first started running, back in the, I don't know if you remember this, but Nike brought out a shoe before we got Fitbits and all of that good stuff. They brought out a shoe that you actually had to buy and put a little chip inside your shoe.
Oh yeah, I remember those. Yeah,
and it was attached to a band, and it had a USB that you could then put into your computer and load up what you'd done, right? And this is how my competitiveness and my wanting to be perfect or better than, and I think that's key for me. When I was trying to be perfect, I actually realized that I was trying to be better than other people so that I could feel better about me.
Yeah.
But I did this running thing, and then I didn't realize until I'd had it for about 2 or 3 weeks that you could compete with other people. So, so it's me and another person, and every time I logged on, they'd done another 10K. So I would go and do another 10K because I wanted to beat them. And I did another 10K, and one day I did it. It didn't frigging well load up on the computer. So rather than me going, oh damn, I went and did it again. I went and did it again just so that I didn't lose that data, and this person can. Now that, when I look back on it, is my obsession, my perfectionism, but having unrealistic goals and expectations of myself, which I'm paying the price for. So that's what I've concluded. Perfectionism has consequences. And for me, I had to learn the hard way. So now I strive for excellence and being better.
Well, I think that's good too. And this week, we'll both go out there and we'll try and get people to be a better version of themselves, be better versions of ourselves, and don't worry about being perfect. So great chatting to you again this week. Look forward to next Monday, and we'll think of another topic and we'll get to know each other even more. So thanks, Vicky, and I hope everyone who's been looking in has enjoyed our chat. So we'll see you next week.
Have a good one. Bye.